Well, Brad, it's good to speak to you again. I just wanted to ask if you've heard anything from the team or any of your sources from the team in Qatar.
I've heard it's warm. I've spoken to a few of the players that are training over there, and from various teams. And even though the games are going to be in the evenings, they're all commenting on the heat and the humidity, especially. With the it's great that the sun's not going to be beating down on their heads, but they're all losing fluids a lot more than they're used to, especially the players that are playing in Europe. So some of the players for the U.S. and Canada that play domestically are used to some hot and humid areas, but a lot of the ones that are in Europe are not used to this. So that'll take some acclimation process to get going.
Yeah, so the tournament being moved to the fall for that reason. I want to talk about the healthy roster despite the quick turnaround, with European clubs. They're playing until this past weekend, then personal things, things like that. Greg Berhalter, he has a full roster. How crucial will that depth be?
Yeah, I'm hearing, Weston McKinney he hasn't played in a little bit. He had injured his quad, I believe it was. Luca Della Torre also is nursing a little bit of an injury coming in. So I think Weston is a lot further along than Luca is. I'm sure Greg will be saying that everyone's fit, so nobody knows. So the Welsh team doesn't know the lineup. As the days roll on, you have to see jet lag will start to fade away, and you really see any sort of niggles, knocks, and tiredness to see how players deal with it. Serginho Dest is another one that I'd like, really to see what the full ramification of his previous injury was. But you saw Tim Ream get through the Man United game unscathed, Anthony Robinson get through the Manchester United game unscathed, so that was very good. By all accounts, Josh Sargent is okay. So it's going to be important that the center of the field, Weston is integral for us, and Musa, he by all accounts is ready to go, so that's important. Tyler Adams, so. I think most everyone is ready to go, and the ones that are still dealing with some things are going to be close to it.
And you already said something very crucial, those lineups. Possible lineups, we don't know just yet. We haven't heard much, well, as from the media standpoint. But are you worried about the team's chemistry with that quick turnaround and the guys having little time to be on the field together?
Well, yes and no. And the reason I'll say yes, because it's not ideal, but no, because everyone's in the same position. I think most times before a World Cup, you would have a mini preseason and play two or three preliminary matches leading up to the World Cup. That wasn't able to be the case this time. They'll play a few of the teams are playing some closed door friendlies and some other friendlies beforehand, but I can't see that those games would be that intense because of all the matches that are already being played prior to the World Cup. So everyone's in the same position, so not ideal, but I don't think too much of a downside because everyone's in very similar boats.
And then obviously a young team here, Berhalter mentioned that, and a strong group play in B. Where can you see the U.S. taking advantage of their youthfulness?
Well, youthfulness will come into play with the climate conditions. It's going to be really interesting to see if the teams are going to play high pressing, how much possession is going to be able to be had, especially in the second halves of some of these games. I said youthfulness is very good for the energy levels, but then it can, when you get into the latter stages of tournaments or in must-win games in your group stage, experience comes to the forefront a lot, and the tried and tested know how to get through those types of games. So again, I think a little bit of a youthfulness is a little bit of a double-edged sword. some fantastic players, young players out there, but experience also holds a lot of value in World Cups.
And someone I want to speak about on the U.S. team, Christian Pulisic. Berhalter is quoted to have built his team around him. What has impressed you most about his game?
Well, Christian's one of those players in the final third that can create out of very little, if what seems to be nothing. He can also open up the field and run with the ball at an opponent, 40, 50 yards, and with tremendous amount of pace. He's used to playing in and with a lot of talented players, and he has the added touch and the added skill in the final third to find a pass and also finish off passes to him. So he's one of those players that the U.S. Has had a difficult time developing over the years. I know he left here. I'm not even sure if you can say the U.S. developed him, because he left at such a young age into Germany. But being an American going over and being that creative attacking player, similar to Giovanni Reyna when he left at such a young age, as well, to be able to ply your trade in these exciting attacking positions. Timothy Weah as another player as well. So he's a big benefit to the U.S. team. As long as he stays fit, he should have a wonderful U.S. career, and let's start it off with this World Cup for him.
And I know last week we really dove into Wales versus US, and we spoke about Gareth Bale, how technical and physical this team is. And I saw you mention Monday that to the American media, Wales is underrated. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, they have good players. Most of their players play in the top leagues in Europe. And if you're looking at the likes of a Bale and Ramsey, they're experienced, but experience holds a lot of cards in World Cup competitions. You also have players like Ben Davies. I played with him at Tottenham. He's an exceptionally gifted left center back stroke left back. The goalkeeper, Wayne Hennessy, very good goalkeeper, played at a very high level for a long time. You have players that have that play with Fulham in the Premier League, players that had been with Man United squad, and they're good. They're really good players, and they're not gonna lay down for anybody. And if people think that the U.S. are favorites going into this game, I would think twice about that. The Wales team, I would put the Wales team down as slight favorites. I think it's a pretty level game. But if the United States and the United States public think it's going to be easy, or this is a definite 3 points, I think they should think again, because this game's going to be very difficult.
And when it comes to this game, I want to ask, can you give, in your opinion, 3 or 5 key things that you think the U.S. got to lock in on if they want to win these 3 points?
They're going to have to limit the service to Gareth Bale. At times of this game, Gareth Bale might not be all over the field, but you have to limit the service to him in the final third, because it just when you think that he's doing nothing in a game, he can kill you. So it's really important that the service is limited. If they play with 3 in the back, which it's going to be reported they do, it's really important that the U.S. tries to make that into a 5 in the back for them and try to keep possession of the ball, because one thing this Wales team is very good at is, when they do get possession of the ball, is sending their wing backs forward, and that would create some overloads and some problems for the United States defending if the U.S. plays with 4 in the back. If the U.S. plays with 3 in the back, we'll see. We'll have to see. But so that's point number 2. Point number 3 is, no matter how this game starts in your meeting rooms, and no matter how your thinking it might go, when you play a British team, you have to win your individual battles. So each and every one of the players has to know that they're going to go into some hard tackles. They're going to have to win the aerial battles, and they're going to have to counter defend all the time when they lose the ball, because the Welsh players are not going to stop. Even if the U.S. goes up a goal, they're not going to stop. that's not how they're programmed over in Great Britain. So those would be my three main points. And you know, at all costs, you really can't lose this game. It has to be at least a draw for both teams.
And my last question for you is, obviously playing in the World Cup, this is a big stage, and the US will use the rainbow logo at Qatar World Cup in support of the LGBTQ community. LGBTQ plus community, I should say. In Qatar, same-sex relationships are illegal. Head coach Greg Berhalter mentioned that Monday. It is important to bring awareness to these issues. And can you see an environment like this impacting the players' play at all?
No, not impacting the play at all. I was never a player that got involved in the political side of things, but I always was one that backed causes that pertain to rights for everybody and social integration and just being good and kind people and human beings all over the world. These players will be happy to do anything that they can to help everyone be kind to everyone else around the world. So, but that's not going to affect the players in any negative way. If it would have any effect, it would be in a positive way and bring them together even more.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Brad, for your time. It was good speaking with you this last week and then today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again.
Thanks, Jasmine.